Hey everybody, it's Dr. Law. A few of you in this class or in other classes have asked some questions that I'd love to answer today. At first I thought about doing this as a live interactive class, but because of the time of the year, I figured it'd be best if I just pre-record this and share it with you all and then leave it open for any questions. This topic is on starting a private practice. Now this video that I'm creating is definitely not a tutorial. What I'm going to do is share my own experience and what I have learned over the past 7 or 8 years as an owner of a private practice, trying to grow it, learning how to run it, keep track of data, and to really understand how the business is running. And furthermore, like I said, once you view this, feel free to reach out to me, ask any questions. So I want to start out first with this little discussion about before you start thinking about starting a private practice, obviously all of you have to finish your degree. You need to finish your licensure examinations. You need to finish your supervision and get fully licensed. Some states don't allow students or counselors who are supervised to open a private practice. So you need to know your state laws first and foremost. I know the state where I live, which is in Utah, a counselor is not allowed to open up a private practice until after they achieve their full licensure. So their first licensure here is called Associate Professional Counselor, and then, or Associate Clinical Mental Health Counselor, ACMHC, something like that. And then during that time period of 2 years after they graduate, they have to get 4,000 hours of supervision. Each state has something similar. And they also have to complete their required licensure examination. And then afterwards, they can apply for the full licensure, which is Clinical Mental Health Counselor, which is CMHC. Now, again, know what your state laws are. Again, in my state, they don't want and they don't allow people who are supervised to own their own business and to run their own private practice. That may change in the future. I do not know. It may not. I know that there are some states that do allow it, and so find that out first and foremost. Secondly, obviously, don't start a private practice unless you feel you are able to do it competently. And I'm not talking about the business model. I'm talking about you as a counselor. All of us, when we start out, have some sense of what we like to call the imposter syndrome, where we feel like we're not quite there or perhaps not up to par with our competence or even with our own personal self-efficacy. That's normal. Goodness, that is very normal. All of us need time, practice, consultation, continued trainings, which you all will have to do to maintain your licensure to feel like we can do an adequate job. Another aspect of becoming competent is that continuing education units that you have to do after you graduate in order to maintain your licensure. Again, know your state laws. The only example I can give is my own state. It's 40 hours of training every 2 years, and then every 2 years we have to renew our licensure and also keep records and even sometimes provide data of the trainings we have done. There's lots of different ways to get your training done, so make sure you know your state laws. Some states require a specific amount of ethics training. Some states only will allow you to do so many webinars or pre-recorded trainings online. Some require more face-to-face training, like going to conferences or conventions. So make sure you know those rules as well. So now let's say you are a few years down the line and you think to yourself, yeah, I can do this. I can be a private practitioner. I can see clients of all ages, all cultures, everything. And I feel comfortable with this. Or maybe you found even a particular niche where you've been getting extra training in to where you feel it can be an expertise. Either way, it's great. The next thing, and this is where it comes to the business practice of it. This is something that everybody has to learn as well. One thing is that in a master's program for mental health counseling, it's not required. We're not required to learn about how to run a private practice, or even if we should. This is just a decision we have to make and we have to learn on our own. So hopefully a few of these things that I'll share with you will be beneficial. So first things first, there's the idea of hanging up your own shingle and starting your own practice. That's easy and hard at the same time. First thing first is location, location, location. Choose a place that's going to be easy for clients to find so there's no frustration. Make sure that it's published so that people can find it. Be sure to give directions, whatever the case may be. Make sure it's easy to find. Some states will allow you to have practices in your home. Some don't. So you want to know those laws as well. When it comes to the business model or the type of business you want to create, this is pretty important. Some people will do what's called just like self-employed. Self-employed, according to the government, and again, please look this stuff up on your own. Don't take my full word for this. Self-employed means that you are, as an individual, you are the owner, you're an employee, you're the employer, and the business entity itself is maintained and classified under your personal information. So that information being your Social Security number. And as such, what that means is liability falls always to you. You, of course, will likely have to have things like you'll have to have your liability insurance, which is something you can obviously purchase on a yearly basis. You'll have to always have professional liability insurance, which you can purchase through a company called CPH. One way you can get the professional liability insurance is through the ACA or AMHCA or other organizations. They have like contracts with them to make it a little less expensive. It's really not that expensive though. It will cost you anywhere from $100 to $200 to $300 a year for professional liability insurance. But again, don't take my full word for it. It all depends on where you work, if you've had prior issues, as well as how many clients you plan on seeing per week. But our liability insurance is pretty inexpensive. So again, that's just our professional liability insurance. Business liability insurance is for, let's say, somebody slips on your steps or falls and gets hurt in your office. That's what that liability insurance is for. It is separate and it is a different cost. I do know that, again, CPH is just a common insurance that many counselors use. They do that type of insurance as well as others. Best thing to do though is look it up, learn about it, and decide which type of insurance you'll get, because there's different types. Anyway, so that's insurance. The second thing, let's go back to location and type of business, is, so I was talking about self-employed, where the business is classified underneath your personal information. There's positives and negatives to it. I've never done that one myself, so I'm not going to speak to positives because I just don't know. I do know one of the main negatives is because it is under your name, you are the one that's always going to be held liable if something happens. And that can create tax issues or inherent dangers, but learn about it yourself and find out what you like. Another common type of a business that you'll see around is a limited liability corporation or an LLC. You'll also see things called an S Corp or a partnership, things like that. Each one of those has to do with a tax, particular type of tax. But with an LLC, I'll say this, an LLC, the government looks at an LLC as if the business is its own entity. So let's say you name the company Joe's Counseling. Joe's Counseling is the one who is always going to be held liable. What that means is if something happens, they can only go after the business. And again, this doesn't happen often, but they can only go after the business. They can't go after you because the business is its own entity. So if you incorporate your business, which is what they'll call it, or do an LLC, an S Corp, a partnership, or a C Corp, or anything like that, those types of businesses, you are personally protected. Now, when it comes to, again, that self-employed, you're not always protected. There's also the 501(c)(3) or C3. I can't remember which one it is, but that is a nonprofit organization. The other organizations I've described are for-profit. Nonprofit organizations have different tax brackets. They can get different tax breaks. It's a little more complicated to apply to achieve that tax status, but it's possible. I know of several people who have done it and have been very successful. One aspect of when you incorporate a business is there's one or two different ways you can pay yourself. One is you pay yourself as an employee, so you actually fill out a W-2, just like you do if you're an employee of someone else. And you also can do another thing called shareholder distributions. Now these are some things that you would need to talk to an accountant about to make sure that you are doing correctly. In fact, that's the first thing I would suggest to you if you're going to open up a business, unless you have accounting background and don't know unless you know tax law and things like that, find a good accountant. It's never going to hurt. Next thing is overhead. It's one of the favorite things we always like to talk about. Overhead, it does not just include your rent or other things that are involved with rent. It involves your phone, the way people are going to contact you. Some of you will want to use your own personal cell phone or a business cell phone. I know that most professors, as well as others, would say have a separate cell phone. It's just safer. And also to not allow clients to do texting or anything like that unless it is only to you on a business cell phone. It just gets messy when it comes to liability, as well as the possibility of information being accidentally seen by someone else. So always protect yourself. Not only that, you will be paying possibly for utilities wherever you're renting, internet wherever you're renting, or it might all be in one. So remember those costs as well as your yearly liability insurances. Just keep those in mind. Another aspect is if you plan on using any kind of service to swipe a card, credit card, debit card, or an HSA card, you'll have to pay for that as well. A lot of people nowadays, I know, use Square or something like that. Research, find out what type of company you would like to use. They all charge different amounts. Some charge a specific amount, just a monthly subscription fee. Others, it's a percentage of each time somebody swipes the card. The next thing is records. Okay. Financially, I'm talking about financial records. You must keep track of them. And you must learn how to use some type of software that can help you reconcile and balance your books every month. My suggestion, and this is just my personal opinion, balance them every month or else it gets really easy to fall behind. It's really simple to fall behind. And again, if you're not comfortable with doing that, find someone who knows how to use QuickBooks or something like that who can reconcile and balance your account every month. Of course, it's an overhead fee. Sometimes it's a little costly, sometimes it's not. Just shop around and find someone who can do it for you. Also, at the end of the year, when it comes time for taxes, you have to have an accountant or a bookkeeper prepare those taxes so that they can be filed. Another type of tax that's not talked about a lot are quarterly taxes. Most businesses every quarter pay taxes out of what money is brought into the company, what money is paid out to employees, things like that. So the way it works is, let's say you do a limited liability corporation and you're the only employee because you're the owner as well. Every 2 weeks you set up so that you're making a paycheck. And let's say, I'm just throwing this out there just for simplicity. Let's say that you figure out that you are bringing in enough cash flow cover all your overhead, and you have enough to pay yourself a $2,000 or a $3,000 or $4,000, I don't know, payment every 2 weeks. And again, I'm just throwing numbers out there. We're all used to seeing paychecks that says so much goes towards the federal government and so much goes towards the state government for taxes. What your employers typically don't tell you is that's only half of what is being sent to the government. So let's just pretend that 12% of your paycheck goes to federal and another 8% or 6% or something goes to the state. Your employer always has to match that. And so, again, let's say it's $1,000 you bring you're going to pay yourself gross. Let's say 120 of that's supposed to go to the feds. It's actually not 120, it's 240. Your employer has to match it. So know that. That's something that we don't typically learn about. Same thing happens with state. They have to match it. So quite a bit of money is going to Uncle Sam. That's something I didn't know when I first started. I learned it very quickly, and it was very helpful to learn that. So that is taxes, okay? Again, taxes, those taxes are paid quarterly. A lot of software you can use, such as QuickBooks, and I'm not making any plugs for QuickBooks, but it has features that can tell you, okay, you owe this amount, this is where you send it, and all that kind of fun stuff. Or you have a bookkeeper do it for you. All kinds of ways of doing it. At the end of the year, when you file for taxes, again, a bookkeeper and an accountant, I would suggest that to everybody unless you know how to do it yourself or are just very curious and willing to learn it. At the end of the year, you'll be taxed on income tax. It has to do with how much money the business has brought in after all the books were zeroed out and reconciled. A lot of small businesses don't typically have to pay more taxes because they already have paid enough. Again, a bookkeeper and an accountant can help you understand that more. But again, this is just information so that you have this in the back of your mind. So let's see. I've gone over business model, location, overhead, records, so QuickBooks and things like that. All right. So that's the nitty-gritty of the business piece. The next thing I want to talk about is billing. All of us want to help pretty much anybody who comes in the door. And that's the truth. Most of us have a pretty big heart. We have a lot of empathy for people. But we can't work for free unless we are somehow individually and personally wealthy. We can't work for free. We are required by the Code of Ethics to do the occasional pro bono, which is fine. You will definitely find ways of doing that. But we need money coming in so we can pay our bills and the exorbitant amount of student loans that we all likely have. So, let's talk about billing. There's cash, where you charge a cash amount. There is checks. Not many people do actually pay checks anymore. You can swipe cards, and third-party billing. Yes, I'm talking about insurances. You have to apply to be on insurances. You have to request to be a part of their panel. And there is a whole process. Each insurance is slightly different. There is a company, though, let's say it's kind of a database, that helps make that easier some of the time. So I would recommend this to everybody. First and foremost, as a practitioner, you will have to have one thing that is called a National Provider Identification Number, or NPI. Write that down. Once you graduate and once you have your first licensure, you will have to apply for an NPI. That basically becomes your professional social security number. It is your ID. You have to have that. The next thing, excuse me, the next thing for getting third-party billers that I would suggest heartily to anybody is to look up the website that I believe it's, look up the company that's called CAQ. CAQH. CAQH is a database where you can provide all of your professional information. So if insurances need to look you up, you're on that database already. Because let's say you want to apply and be paneled with Blue Cross Blue Shield or with Cigna or somebody else. They may use CAQH as a way to vet their paneled professionals. And so always use that and keep it up to date. Once you sign into it, once you have a login and you actually fill out the data, they'll remind you every probably 4 months that you have to reattest your information. It takes about 5 minutes, and you just have to update it every quarter roughly. So I'd suggest that to everybody. So again, NPI, get that number, and then CAQH. And again, that's for insurances. Know that when you're billing insurances, most of the insurances are now doing electronic billing. With electronic billing, some of them have their own private way of doing it through their own website, their own portal. Others use what is called a clearinghouse. There's lots of those. One common one that I'm just going to throw out there that I've used before is called Availity. And Availity is just a place where, let's say you have 12 clients, all with specific insurances that Availity helps you with. You log in, you put the codes in, the dates of service, the client's number, everything, and you hit submit, and electronically it requests the money. Most of the time the insurances will just pay you as a direct deposit, or they'll send you a check. Know that with insurances, when you're a panel with insurances, it does not mean you're going to get the full amount that you are billing. As a contracted panelist, you contract with what they will pay you. And so you get what they'll pay you as well as the client's copay. Personal suggestion, always collect the copay the day of service, because you got to have constant cash flow so that you can pay yourself and pay overhead. Again, if you're not comfortable with doing those things, you'll need somebody else to do it for you. But most clients, trust me, are okay to give you a card, to swipe it, to sign it, and pay their copay. If they don't have it and they can't afford the full amount for a session, I'm going to leave that up to your discretion on how to decide whether or not you can work with them. The Code of Ethics actually has information on that, and so study it, learn about it. Outside of insurances, there are more third-party payers out there. Learn about them in your community. You can learn about them not only from other counselors and your employers, but also from joining organizations and things like that within your state. You can learn about how to get other payment. Okay, so that's records and now third-party paying. Now marketing. Obviously, you want clients to start coming in and seeing you. I'm just going to give a few ideas. These are just my opinion, but I've seen them work. They work for me and for a lot of other people. Marketing can be expensive, but if you find one or two really good ways of marketing yourself, then you're going to do just fine. It always takes time, though. A lot of people are going to search engine optimizations or SEO. PsychologyToday.com is one of those companies. It's an SEO where you pay a monthly subscription. I think it's like $30 or $35. I don't know what the cost is now. And what they do is they do the marketing for you. So let's say somebody within a certain zip code area or range around where your office is searching for a counselor, and they type in the zip code. It will actually bring up all the counselors within that zip code. And then your job is to create a profile or a marketing page that makes you pop out above others. Always when you're writing your marketing information, make sure it's accurate. Don't embellish. There's ethical codes about that as well. So Psychology Today, build your own website. When it comes to using social media, I know a lot of people do it. Be careful, because it's not confidential. We still have to follow HIPAA laws with everything. And so if you're going to create a Facebook page or an Instagram page or something like that, it probably needs to be a business page where basically it's just you talking. You want to be very, very careful with that, because you do not want other people putting their information out there if they've been your client. That can come back and bite you. So be careful, learn the laws, learn the regulations, things like that. And finally, once you've got all that up and going, when it comes to working with your clients, just do the counseling part. Everything I just talked about is the business side. This has a learning curve to it as well as being a counselor. At first, if you've never done it, it can be somewhat stressful. But so can being a counselor, so can being a cab driver or any other job you have. There's always that aspect to it. Keep going, keep learning. Don't be afraid to ask for help or ask questions. There are so many others who have done this and walked this path already and are happy to help. There are plenty of clients out there. That's why the mental health field as practitioners, that's why it's growing. There's plenty of clients. Don't be afraid to collaborate with other counselors. Don't be afraid to send clients to them because they'll send them to you as well. I've worked with many clients that way. When you create a name for yourself, or let's say an expertise, people will come to you for that. That is pretty much all I have about this subject. I've done about a 26-minute video, and I think that's pretty good. I'd love to hear any thoughts, comments, or questions you have about this topic. Please reach out to me through my email, which is jameson.law@mail.waldenu.edu, and I'd be happy to help. You guys all have an excellent week.